Potential is a four-letter word.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.
It's Southwest Bias live from Studio K, brought to you by our friends at Circle K. And yeah, potential's a four-letter word if you're the Phoenix Suns, because right now, with pick number 10, you cannot select a guy that simply has potential, that doesn't have NBA-ready skill set. And that happened when you decided to keep Devin Booker and move on from Kevin Durant. If you were going to go into a full rebuild, if you were going to be in a place where you could wait 2, 3, 4 years for a guy to develop, I say, yeah, at 10, take a guy that is full of potential, but maybe isn't actually there yet. A guy that has one or two skill sets that you are extremely excited about, but that have additional things that they need to work on. The Suns don't have that luxury, because that sound you hear is the clock ticking on how long Devin Booker is going to be willing to sit there and wait for you to be good again. I am not thinking that that'll be too long if you draft a guy that won't be able to help him for years to come. I understand there's fascination this time of year with what a guy could be. That's just the reality of draft nights. And some GMs, some scouts, some front offices fall in love with the guy that they think a player can become. But you can't just draft that for that if you're Brian Gregory. You have to draft for who can this guy be over the next 2 years and who can he become in the future. Because projects aren't going to work here. You need a guy that is already ready for at least a portion of the NBA. You did that with Ryan Dunn at 28 last year. You knew he was going to be a quality defender. You knew that he could cut to the basket and provide some of that. You hoped he could shoot threes. And you had, if you get 2 out of 3 things that you know a guy can do, you can live with that. But at 10, if you take a kid based on what you're projecting he'll be 3 years from now, and not what he can be the first year he steps on the court, you are screwing up one of the most valuable assets you have available to you, and that you will have available to you for years to come. You traded to get into the lottery for a reason. And that reason can't be, I really hope this guy pans out in 3 years. I'm taking a big swing because I think that ceiling is so high, but that floor can't be deeper than an elevator shaft, right? And with some of these kids, it's going to be. You need to find a guy at power forward or center that's going to be able to step in and help fill those gaps. Is a trade possible? Yeah, I think what we're learning in the NBA over the last 3 days is anything is possible, to quote Kevin Garnett. Because if you look at some of the deals going on, the fire sale in Boston, whatever the hell Atlanta's doing to acquire all these guys, the Kevin Durant trade, the Desmond Bane trade, we are seeing an NBA that's significantly different than the one that we've grown accustomed to. Everything we've heard is that draft night could be insane. That there could be first-round picks getting traded like crazy. So you got to find the kid that's ready to play, that is a guy that has bona fide skills now. Don't draft on hope. Draft the best player available now, not a guy you think could be the best player drafted 4 or 5 years from now. Because we've seen guys drafted on potential here in Phoenix, and we've seen how that is flamed out. And the Suns can't screw this up, because this could be their ticket to solidifying the present and the future if they play it right. And there is, thanks to what they've decided to do this offseason and the approach they're taking, a very slim margin for error. You were walking a tightrope to be able to stay competitive now in Devin Booker's timeline and set yourself up for the future as well. You've got to thread that needle and get this 100% right tonight in the draft in a way that we've rarely seen happen in Phoenix. You cannot draft the next Jalen Smith when the next Tyrese Halliburton is on the board. You can't take the next Dragan Bender or Marquise Chris because of some projection when there's talent on the board. You can't take the next Markieff Morris when Kawhi Leonard, whether he sweat through his suit or not, is sitting on the board. Brian Gregory was hired in part because of what he's supposedly able to do when it comes to the draft. He was given credit for Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro. He was given credit for what he knows about the college game. Tonight should be Brian Gregory's Super Bowl. Tonight should be where he shines. And yet we won't know this evening how that'll pan out, but we'll have an idea if they're drafting a kid that didn't perform as well in college, and there's lots of questions about him. The Suns need to win this draft tonight. Because while potential may have a lot more than 4 letters when you spell it out correctly, it is the largest 4-letter word in sports. But maybe that's just my Southwest bias. Let's give it up to the man behind the Mac, the mustache that gets everybody jealous. It's Shane Diefenbach. Shane, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm great. It's draft day.
It is drafty in here. That is for sure.
No, it's not drafty in here. It's draft day. I'm very excited. I feel like the NBA draft kind of gets disrespected because of how hype the NFL draft is and how excited people get about that draft. I think it's one of the best. I think it might be in some cases it's better than the NFL draft because it's shorter. It
used to be shorter. Now it's 2 nights for some godforsaken reason.
The NBA is the most dramatic league ever, too. So it's not just focused on what's going on in the draft, but also the storylines around the draft and around the teams and around trade rumors and players and whatnot. So
somebody's mom will become famous tonight.
Yeah, of course.
It's inevitable.
Is it ESPN?
Yeah, ESPN and ABC this evening.
ESPN will probably say some horrible fact about somebody's family that you just didn't need to know, had nothing to do with their draft potential.
Stephen A. Smith will scream about whatever the Knicks do or don't do.
Yeah, somebody's going to get drafted at 7, and they're going to say, well, his mom, had troubles. And you're like, why are you bringing that up right now?
There will be a million trade rumors that will fly on social media, and like one of them will actually have truth behind it. You'll hear a million Bradley Beal scenarios, like Andy in the chat says Beal plus 10 for Cam Johnson, 19 and 27. There'll just be a million of those things thrown out.
That's so crazy.
So
there's going to be, you're never going to know, or you're never going to hear what pick it is or on TV. You're never going to find out from the TV what pick the pick is in because it's already on Twitter.
No, we'll have the stupidest tradition in sports where a NBA player will be drafted, but will have to wear the hat of a team he'll never play for.
The Rockets.
Yeah, the Rockets. The Suns pick will wear the Rockets hat. It'll be ridiculous. Or if the Suns trade the pick, that pick will still wear a Rockets hat, even though it's now a guy that's playing for a team that the Suns traded him to. It's ridiculous. And we'll get into that a little bit.
What is your confidence that they will stick and pick a 10?
Pretty high. I heard that they very much wanted to get to that 10 slot for a reason. Now maybe they try to move up if the guy that they want is not on the board, or if they don't think will be on the board at 10. But I will say this, and Shane, you can clip this if it happens tonight. I will hold true to this. If Bradley Beal were to actually get traded tonight, I will chug a bottle of hot sauce on this program.
Whoa.
Because I do not think there is a chance that Bradley Beal gets dealt tonight, even though some people are trying to hold on hope.
What type of bottle?
A Tabasco bottle.
What size Tabasco?
Yeah, the one that's like the size of the mug, maybe a little taller.
Okay.
I'll go all in.
Okay.
I'm willing to do that because that's how sure I am.
Okay.
My doctor probably will call me in 2 seconds and go, "That is a horrible idea." But guess what? I do not care because I know I'm not going to have to do it.
It's better than what Teja's profile picture is drinking.
Is that bleach?
It is bleach.
There, T. Yeah, come on, man. I know it's tough, but man, don't do that. Yeah. Somebody else said, "Get your Pepto ready." Explicit intelligence. I don't need Pepto. I ain't gonna need anything because I'm not chugging a bottle of Tabasco sauce because Bradley Beal will not get moved on draft night. That is how confident I am on that. Carlos says, "Espo, you're gonna crap yourself, bro." It's not gonna happen. It's not going to happen, so I don't have to worry about what the unintended consequences of chugging a bottle of Tabasco sauce would be. I'll do the green one, which is spicier. All right, that's how much I care. And if it does happen tonight, you guys get entertainment on the program tomorrow or Friday. Like, let's be honest, it's a win-win. Either I don't have to destroy my intestinal system, or you guys get to watch me do it. So everybody wins one way or another. So Mark R says, "No Dragan Bender, no Josh Jackson, no Jalen Smith." Yeah, should be the plan here. Don't wind up falling into any of the pitfalls that have hurt you in drafts past, all right? Don't do that.
So the hat I'm wearing it says DOT.
Is somebody asking?
No, I'm explaining.
Okay.
It says DOTS, which means don't overthink stuff. That's how I feel. I'm wearing this with intentionality today because the Phoenix Suns draft process has always been overthinking. It's always been, oh, well, what if Bender develops into something? But what if Josh Jackson develops a shot? What if, the best player, take the good guy at 10.
The guy that you go, he has these skills. They translate to the NBA. It's as sure of a pick as you can take. Like, that's what I want to hear coming out of this. You got a solid B+ because this kid's a can't-miss prospect, right?
Okay, Aspo, who's your can't-miss prospect at 10 then? If they're available.
I don't know. So, see, I usually like to research more, and I was not expecting this to wind up playing out the way it did with the 10th pick. But I think Connor Murray Boyles from South Carolina, and I could have just butchered that name. But everybody kind of is saying he's Draymond Green-esque, and that's kind of the mentality they've talked about. So I get it. He's only 6'7", right? Maybe you want a little bit more size, but if you play with an edge and you can play bigger, I mean, hell, Charles Barkley was 6'3". Like, I know he was listed at 6'6", but he still was one of the best rebounders ever and was tenacious. If you've got it, sometimes height doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can play much bigger than you are, and you outsmart guys. So I don't know. I'm intrigued by him, but I am not the expert.
If I'm being honest, that feels like the most Phoenix Suns overthinking pick ever. Because what did you say?
That
if it all can come together.
Well, but I mean, that's it. Okay. Any draft pick, you're going to say yes, because we don't know.
But you're drafting an undersized person that you're hoping can come together.
I'm going to say this. I prefer it over Carter Bryant.
Really?
Yeah. Carter Bryant, I feel like, has 2 or 3 years before he's that guy you think.
I don't think so.
And do you trust the Suns to actually develop a guy in that way? That's where my fear is. I don't know, but we're going to bring on a guest after the break that has these answers, or at least some of these answers. He's our All-City draft analyst, Derik Bodner, who'll be joining us right after this. Look, I got to tell you about our friends at Mountain America Credit Union. They have over 1 million members, and you should be one of them. I was looking for a new financial institution. I was banking elsewhere. And then I heard about Mountain America and said, you know what? I got to look into this because their 100 branches across the West are where I need to be. There's one right in my neighborhood, not right next door, but right in the neighborhood. And I thought, you know what? I got to look more into this. And then I heard about their 2 times the rewards points that you're going to get with their cards, and that you can use them on things like travel rebates and gift cards. You can stretch that dollar further. And right now, we all need to stretch that dollar a heck of a lot further than it's been going. And I am excited to be part of the Mountain America family, and you can be too. You just have to head to macu.com/double. You're going to learn all about this and you can become a member. Loans on approved credit. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. Head over to our friends with Mountain America. And guess what? Circle K. I'm driving my wife's car because she went out of town. It's running a little low on gas. I actually prefer driving her car. And tomorrow, I just found out, is one of the great fuel days at Circle K. I'm going to save 40 cents off per gallon when I go to fill that car tomorrow. And I can't be more excited. And you can get this same offer by simply downloading the Circle K app right now and becoming an Inner Circle member. It is super easy. And I don't know what you're waiting for. You hear me talk about it all the time. I'm here in Studio K. It's not like you need any more reminders. You're lazy at this point if you're not doing it. So pick up the phone, download the Circle K app, and become a member, and then go save some money tomorrow. And while you're there, pick up a 79-cent Polar Pop. Just do it. You need something to drink in this hot weather. So go check it out. You can download the Circle K app today and join the Inner Circle member, or become an Inner Circle member for free. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. And we're talking NBA draft today. So I said, you know what? I don't know as much as some people, and I'm man enough to admit that. And I said, who do I know that knows this draft inside and out? And I said, I got to call my guy Derik because he is our All-City draft analyst. He's obviously a member of the PHLY Sixers show, a friend from Vegas last year, and he's the author of our draft guide on gophnx.com. Derik, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Excited to finally be here.
Oh, well, I'm going to start with this question. Not fully draft related. Can I interest you in a Bradley Beal?
No, I think I'm good on that. I think the Sixers have enough large contracts for aging veterans. I think we're good on that front.
Well, I said I respected Derik's opinion, but now I'm worried because I was really hoping to say yes, and he put the call in. But all right.
I mean, look, there are some Sixers fans who are so frustrated with Paul George. I'm sure they will happily take on someone who just has one fewer years of contract left. I am not of that group, though.
All right. I don't blame you. Let's get into what you're here for, though. The Suns picked up the number 10 pick in the draft in the Kevin Durant deal. Obviously, a very short window for all of us to try to study up on who the Suns could take. But you guys put out your latest mock draft, you and Will. Who do you like for the Suns at 10, and why is that the case?
Yeah, well, I think what you guys need is a shooting guard, clearly. No, I think obviously what you need
not enough.
What you need is almost literally anything other than a shooting guard, which is good because I feel like there's a lot of pretty good options here in this stage of the draft. You know, I think one player who would be good just because he has so much size and defensive versatility and a lot of youth he can grow into. Noah Sengwe, I think there's probably viewed as increasingly unlikely he's going to be available, though. I think a lot of people expect that there's a good chance he'll go at 9 to Toronto. But I think there's a pretty good group of defensive-minded players who you could choose from. Colin Morey-Boyles, although he's very divisive because he really just does not shoot at all. There's Cedric Howard, who's been a really late riser, but he's got excellent size on the wings, really good catch-and-shoot game. How much off-the-dribble stuff he can grow into is a little bit unknown, in part because he barely played at Division I competition, only played 6 games before getting injured, but there's a lot of talent and a really good 3-and-D fit there as well. Those are two players I would say off the top of my head. But even some of the big men, like does someone like Malawach fall? If not, would you have interest in someone like Thomas Sorber? I think those are both reasonable places to go as well. And then there's even like, yeah, you guys have a lot of shooting guards, but someone like Yakachonis, I think, could be interesting as well. I'm actually a pretty big Kasparis Yakachonis fan. I think he came out, he was shooting lights out for the first 15 or so games, and then really, really struggled. I think we might have overreacted a little bit to that shooting slump towards the end of the season, because if that shot translates, and he took a lot of tough shots, um, if that shot translates with his passing and creativity, I think he could be real good, and could help maybe get some of your 18 shooting guards easier off ball shots. But I think those are probably where my head would start off with.
There's a fascination with Carter Bryant here since he plays down the road in Tucson, or he did in college. What is your read on Carter Bryant? Because I've heard from some people he's a 2 or 3 year project before he'll have a real impact. But what's your read when it comes to him?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you guys probably have a great read on him just because he played so close and a lot of people watched a lot of his games. Obviously, a lot of it comes down to the shot, and I think shooting, like, he was good as a shooter, but I think there's a small enough sample size. He only, took 2.5 per game, that even with the percentages, there should be a little bit of skepticism. I don't think he's going to be a non-shooter. The question is whether or not he's going to be a real, floor spacer or just someone who is capable enough. Because if that shot doesn't translate and translate at a little bit higher of a volume, he is, I think, going to be a pretty limited offensive player from day one. Now, whether or not he can grow into more than that, I certainly think there's reason to believe that he could. But that's where I agree that the 2 or 3 year project might come into play. I do think he will step in and be a contributor defensively pretty early on. Maybe not quite the lockdown guy that I think some people have penciled him as, but I think he's going to be a real good, real versatile defender. And if those two translate and he eventually does make shots at a decently high volume, that's just an archetype that pretty much everyone in the league is after. It's in part why I'm so high on Cedric Coward, even though he has so little in-game reps against high quality competition. I think there's just a pretty easy pathway for Coward and also for Bryant to be a true 3-and-D kind of archetypal player. I just think Coward, if I was going to rank the two, I'd probably go Coward a little more just because I think he has a little bit more off movement juice, a little bit more attack closeout second side kind of stuff to his game. But like I said, so much of that came with against lower competition. But still, I think Bryant is going to be good. I do believe in that shot, even if it might take there's oftentimes a little bit of an adjustment period because of the speed of the game and the length of the shot. I think eventually it will get there, and I do think defensively he is going to compete and give you what he has.
Looking at number 29, obviously the Suns, that was the pick that we all knew they were coming into the draft with. There's been some questions about how deep is this draft. Is there somebody at 29 that you think can help the Suns and actually have an impact similar to what Ryan Dunn was able to do at the 28th pick last year?
That's a good question, because I feel like with a lot of the dropouts and players coming back to college, the 29th pick is maybe a little bit less valued than it was about a month ago. That being said, I think there's a bunch of intriguing big men prospects. Someone like, just going off of a wing like we mentioned before, someone like Drake Powell. I don't think he's going to fall, but if he does fall, I think he would be another good 3-and-D type prospect. Someone who can get out in transition, someone who can make an open shot, and someone who's going to defend. There's a couple big men, whether that's Rasheer Fleming from St. Joseph's, who could be intriguing, if he falls, whether that could be someone like Maxime Reynaud. I think that could be intriguing as well. And someone like Kalkbrenner, who might be one of the better. Kalkbrenner and Niederhauser, both two pretty good rim protectors, especially Kalkbrenner. I feel like he is a rim protector that could really fit well in Phoenix. So I think if I'm looking for an archetype and a couple of names, I think those are maybe where I would go with that 29th pick. Adu Tiero, I think, also could be interesting. He is a 21-year-old from Arkansas, one of the best athletes in this draft, and really, really gets up and down the floor and is fun to watch. Really strong defender. He's able to take players off the dribble. He has a little bit of a dribble drive game as well. He just has pretty much no shot. And at 21 years of age, having played 3 years in college, that lack of a shot is concerning. But if you believe that you can fix that, there's a lot of athletic traits that I think make him real interesting and a potential value add at this spot as well.
Some Suns fans wonder, is trading out of 10 and potentially trading back for a couple picks, maybe with the Nets, something worth it. Is there enough talent in this draft to trade back from 10 and still be able to get the kind of value that this team appears to need with the roster that they have?
Yeah, I mean, when you start looking at some of the teams that have multiple picks, someone like Brooklyn, who just has way too many picks, there's no way they want to roster that many rookies on the season. I think that makes a lot of sense. Brooklyn has a bunch, a couple others in that range. Washington has a couple. I think it makes a lot. Brooklyn's the one that comes to mind just because they got another one, and they have what I think 5 now first round picks. But it does look like there should be some teams who are really itching to consolidate that, and being able to move up to that 10 spot is going to be really intriguing for a bunch of teams. And I think Phoenix is in a spot, given, the way they're rebuilding and the way that their asset deprived from some of their previous trades. Yeah, I think they should be looking for taking a couple swings. Are they going to be as guaranteed of a prospect as you would get at 10? No, probably not. But I think there's enough volatility in that 10 to 20 range where you can drop back down to, 19 or so. Maybe not have as good of a chance of getting the guy that you want, but still having a guy who was within that group of prospects I was talking about earlier, who could fall and still get another asset or two to take a couple swings. I think this is a pretty good draft to, rather than taking, let's say, a 30% chance at a starter, take 20% chances. I think you can make a case in this draft.
If you want more from Derik, check out our All-City draft guide. You can go to gophnx.com, become a diehard member. We've got a sale going on right now, and you can access the entire draft guide, which is a great second screen experience to tonight's draft coverage. Derik, thank you so much. Good luck tonight with the Philly stuff.
Yep. Thank you. My pleasure.
All right. We heard big boards. We've talked big boards. Well, it's time for another edition of Espo's Big Board. Yeah, that's right. It's time for Espo's Big Board, where we're going to talk about not the draft prospects that everybody talks about on their big boards. I'm going to rank something that I find more interesting. And right now, we're going to rank the worst draft night suits in NBA history. We got 6 of them. We're going to go 6 through 1. Shane, are you ready for number 6?
Almost. Before we start.
Okay.
Before we start,
what would you like to do?
I have to get something off my chest.
What did I do wrong?
No, you didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
I think that we need to go back
to the future,
to baggy suits.
Baggy suit. I don't think baggy suits isn't exactly where I went in this to rip on him. Look, fashion ebbs and flows. I obviously know nothing about it because I wear the same damn thing on this program almost every day, but I've been told fashion ebbs and flows. So some of these things are just naturally going to look goofy years later. And I think baggy suits were one of those things that were knocked on, but I think eventually they will have a comeback.
I wouldn't be shocked if we see baggy suits this year. I could see that. You know who strikes me as somebody who'd wear a baggy suit?
Who?
Carter Bryant.
Carter Bryant. Another reason I might not feel great about drafting him at 10 is the baggy suit shows up.
That's
upsetting.
I'm just kidding. That's upsetting.
No. That's like Cowherd saying, if he wears his hat backwards, I can't trust him. Well, guess what? I guess Colin Cowherd can't trust me. I'll wear my hat backwards. Yeah, like dumb stuff like that. I don't judge a guy on at all. But you know what? I'm going to say this to our friends watching us on television. We appreciate you. Thank you. But head over to Go PHNX because that's where all the fun continues. And you know what? That means sometimes in life you work hard, just like my high school football coach said, but you still got overtime. Welcome in. You're still here. I don't have to welcome you back in. It's Espo's Big Board. We're looking at the 6 worst suits in NBA draft history. And number 6 is a former Sun, a guy that looked like he borrowed something from one of the extras behind MC Hammer in the 1994 draft. It is Jalen Rose with the awful suit that you'll see here in just a second. He has shoulder pads that look like an NFL player would wear them in this suit. It's red pinstriped and it's got a ridiculous tie. It screams early 90s
So
but in the worst way possible.
What's the criteria here? Are these like the best worst or the?
No, these are just the worst.
Oh, okay. So you just hate them.
They're just dumb fits, is the way I'm looking at it.
I'm kind of vibing with it.
Of course you are. Let's look at.
I'm also vibing with this.
This one from 1989. I don't necessarily hate. It just is. It's Vlade Divac, who was drafted by the Lakers, and is the most Vlade thing ever. It looks like he's just come off a 3-day bender where he smoked 7 packs of cigarettes and just remembered that he's got to go on the podium with one David Stern. That he is number 5 on our big board of really bad draft suits.
I kind of like it.
Hey, it's fun, and you know what? He very well may have come in after one too many drinks or one too many packs of cigarettes. Number 4. I actually dig.
Yeah.
It technically isn't a suit, but it screams, I'm going on a cruise and you're taking my photo right now. It's Larry Johnson from the 1991 draft where suits were optional and casual, cruise wear was all right. I don't know what. It's like if you were trying to get camouflaged in a tropic jungle. Like, I don't know what it is.
You're trying to get camouflaged amongst white people on a cruise.
Yes. Yes, it is cruise camouflage that we've got. This next one screams, I waited way too long to get my suit for prom. And this was all that they had left. It's Chuck Person from the 1986 draft when the Pacers took him with the white tux with hot pink bow tie and hot pink cummerbund.
This is bad.
I mean, that's not a look that ever looked normal.
This is objectively bad. Like
it screams, I forgot my prom suit, and this is what I got. I'm gonna go. The next one is Carmelo Anthony at 2, a guy who got drafted by the Nuggets and decided, it's the Mile High City, and so are my freaking buttons. There's like 9 buttons on this suit, and he buttons, instead of like in the middle or anything, he buttons the top one and nothing else.
Yeah, it's bad.
It makes zero sense. Again, another suit that I don't think ever was in style, but he got really bad advice for draft night. And then the final one. This is my award for the best look to try to look like the team's logo, right? And this is Samaki Walker from the 1996 NBA draft. And if you remember the old school Dallas Mavericks logo, it had the white cowboy hat on the M in a basketball. And that hat looks exactly like what Samaki Walker chose to wear on draft night. He certainly wins the I look like my team's logo and I'm okay with that. And this is one of the weirdest looks. It's a suit jacket with what just looks like a white shirt. A hat that's white that doesn't really match the cream color of the jacket, and it looks like the Dallas Mavericks logo. That is the perfect number 1 worst draft night suit in NBA history. I don't think anybody else could make the list. That is just magnifique from Samaki Walker. Shane, did I do all right?
Yeah, I think
You're
so.
Mr. Fashion aficionado, shorts, dad hat, and mustache. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, no, I think it was good. I mean, I think you could find some worse ones out there. These are iconic, though.
They are. Mark R says Kevin Knox was worse. Espo, I will go review the footage and I will let you know, Mark, if maybe he was left off my list.
Yeah, he wore the Fortnite suit.
I'm okay with that.
No,
that's a personality.
No,
thing,
it's not, because it's a Fortnite suit inside, and then it's like the Burberry plaid vest. That's horrible.
It's an inside thing. I don't mind. I don't mind it on the inside.
Horrible.
I will review the tape, and maybe I'll admit I was wrong tomorrow, because I won't have to drink a bottle of Tabasco sauce tomorrow, because Bradley Beal isn't going to be traded. So I'll have time to look at Knox's suit and let you know if I was wrong or not. That is another edition of Southwest Bias. A big thanks to the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach. You can follow him at Shane Dief. You can follow me at Espo. You can follow the show at PHNX_sports. And remember, no matter who the Suns draft tonight, fans likely won't like it because we're the same people that booed Dan Marley. Ahoy, hoy!
We all silly like the mayor.